it recognizes that the earth and the environment is a very important part of the reduction of all these issues like poverty, hunger, improvement of health. And although many of our projects were relating to the issues that are there in the system SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, but wherever it is possible, wherever we are working directly, we try and relate to these goals and try and monitor our own progress according to some of these. So like you mentioned, for instance, what are the projects that we are doing in this area? I can mention 3 to start with. One is related to the, say, what we call our primary tiger landscapes. Okay? So tigers, as you know, are not limited to one area. Even if you say you've been to Corbett National Park, for instance, where have you been?
I've been to Corbett.
Where have you been?
I've been to in Singapore, not in India recently.
Okay. So if you go to any national park for tigers, you'll find that all those parks are interconnected to larger areas, which what we call in landscape. And then we connected to mountains, hill ranges, mountain ranges, rivers, all those interconnectivities. So this interconnectedness leads to a flow of life that is very important for the earth. And that directly relates to life on land. One of the goals of it. Similarly, we have projects for the conservation of river systems and the interaction of stakeholders like farmers, fishermen with these areas, which are river systems, large rivers like the Ganga Basin, for instance. And we try and see the interaction from the point of view of a mammal like a dolphin or a mahseer or a turtle or an otter, and looking at that, try and see what interactions can happen with people so that they could be kinder to the environment and better for the species such as this who live there. People need water, and there are different degrees of water that you require for the kind of livelihood that you have. This kind of wildlife, fish, turtles, gharial, dolphin, they cannot live without water. There's a big difference in the two. And as a result, they also have a right to water as a resource, because that's the universe. Like for us, it's oxygen. And this interaction with people and looking at what are the different challenges for the future of such mammals, we monitor these under different areas, specific locations, etc. But then this comes under the aspect of life underwater, right? You mentioned the marine program. Marine program is similar, of course. It has a larger impact because it's on the oceans, right? And in order to spread this knowledge, understanding, we have a program dedicated to the aspect of sustainable development goals, sustainable livelihoods for people, and also how to interact with children, such as you're mentioning in your schools, etc., through a program on environmental education. So this is the overall idea of it.
Thank you. That's interesting. So what are some of the challenges that you face when you're trying to carry out all of the projects?
Well, the main challenge which we have is that over the last 30 years we are dealing with a smaller and smaller natural area, be it fresh water, be it forests, be it wildernesses, large wildernesses. And these areas are being used, or the stakeholders are growing in these areas for either use of the land or use of the produce that comes from these places, be it forest, water. Now that interaction has to be understood, and areas which are important to us from a conservation environment point of view, those have to be looked at in a way that they have a long-term future for people, for nature, for life that exists. This is one of the biggest challenges. I think when I started, when I was your age, I started looking at doing my readings in this area. I think most importantly, it was an issue of understanding. How do you understand this? What is the understanding of what are migratory birds? What are the dynamics of that? What are migratory birds looking at? Why do they do something? Today, a lot of those things have been scientifically proven. A lot of those things have been scientifically accessed, and they are in front of you. So you are looking at today a website that probably gives 50 years of research work in front of you. Now, while I was in the time when we were still learning, you are getting the result. And your generation is actually applying the result to sustainable development goals. So that is a challenge, what we face. At the same time, it's also a solution.
And first, I mentioned students like me, what kind of a role, where do you see the role of us in wildlife conservation?
Role of?
Students.
What do I see? You have two very large areas of responsibility. And one is that your role is first and foremost to use the resources of your school, to use the knowledge of your teachers to gain knowledge. That's the role I see. That it's not good enough. I feel happy when I see wildlife or birds or tigers or polar bears or whatever. But what is it that keeps them alive? How is it that they have predated us in their evolution, and what is their future going forward? So this concern, this thirst for knowledge is your duty to learn and to understand. The second thing that you can do is to go out and explore your country. You must go out and explore your country and explore and understand this great nation of ours. Why is it that we are so close to nature? Why are we have got this in our heritage? How we have it in our history? Why is it that our ancestors were so close to this, all these issues of dynamics and nature, which is in our religious literature? So that aspect, knowledge and exploration, is something that you can do.
And so, do you think are there any ways for us to take action once we explore?
So, for instance, if 8 or 10 students get together and express concern, and express that concern to your, let's say, especially the academic, certainly the academic leadership, to say this is what we have observed. Give us people who can interact with us and tell us what can we do. Reaching out in your very nice and how do I say this, respectful way to political leadership in your city, in your state, to say these are the concerns which have, why are you not addressing them? What are you doing to so? What is your timeline? Because when children reach out on these issues, quite often they ask questions which are very difficult to ask. They are even more difficult to answer. You know? But it affects positively in a way the political leadership absorbs this and they can, see if something can be possible. There are people who have responded differently. Like for instance, students once went with a glass of water saying that this has been purified from the Jamna in one of the purification plants that your government has constructed or they're using it. We'd like you to drink this glass of water. The people around the table, they did not drink it. So students said, if you don't drink it, how do you expect us to drink it? Right? Secondly, if you are not drinking it, how do you expect wildlife who lives and depends on this 24/7, how do you expect them to do this? Now, it may be a difficult position you're putting a political leader into, but it has resulted in something good to happen. So, what I'm saying is, do it responsibly. Don't corner people because they also have their limitations in many ways. But they have to come up with some answers. Okay?
And how did you get interested in wildlife?
Like you, I had the benefit of getting an interest, reading more, then going out wherever my parents were posted, going out to explore the rivers, to explore the forests. And when I started my college studies, to trek in the Himalayas, go deep into the Himalayas, looking at different cultures of people, different strata of natural areas, and of course going out in the forests. And I think all these things, when you decide that this is an interaction that you're having with nature, you want to learn the way animals behave, how do they interact, and you learn more, you read more. And as a result of that, this grows in you. So that's how I started. I started around the time when you